Okay, there's here twice. All right. As you can see in the program, we have a quite fascinating composition of different projects. I'm really, really curious to hear what came out of that. We've discussed these projects bilingually in the office hours, and we will start with group one and a podcast on AI and border control at the European external border. And as mentioned in my email or my invitation, you have about 10-12 minutes to present your project, and then we go into a discussion and Q&A afterwards. So the floor is yours, Cliff.
First of all, thank you so much for everybody being here. We as a team know that being out of the semester is always quite busy for some people. So we, and I speak for me and my teammate here together, we are quite happy that everybody is interested in this topic. And yeah, like our professor already introduced us to. Oh, sorry. And the professor honorably already introduced us to. We worked on a podcast regarding the border control project. The podcast is it's complicated to show the podcast here because of course it's not a project like a post or something, but we have an audio that we will present. Once again, I'm speaking for both of us, of course. Exactly. We know about the time limit. Unfortunately, my partner isn't here today because for personal reasons. But I will try to fill in his parts also. But we parted our parts. Also, a podcast. It was a deliberate conversation, like it was supposed to be. So that's why I cannot partake everything. But if you have questions or if you are further interested in this project, because we are really engaged in the project, then just contact him or contact me. We are all in the same seminar. Um, exactly. That is just as a quick introduction. Um, yeah, so just shortly presenting our creative process and also the methodology that we used. Of course, we had lots of time during the seminar. Gratefully, both of us were very grateful that we had this great um, mansion, you could almost say, to prepare everything, and also with the group mates that we had, and once again the professor that was leading everything and gave us the basis, because the methodology that we used was based on our professor's literature, and since everybody in the class already, I suppose, read the literature, and if you don't, then you can listen to the podcast. We also summarize everything. I won't, or we don't, we made the conscious decision to not go too deep into the methodology because you can read it for yourself if you are further interested. That for the methodology part. Furthermore, we just recorded the podcast separately. Um, we have the luck and the privilege that we live in a world where we can record podcasts even though we are in different locations. And since for private reasons we couldn't be in the same city, we did it via an online program, and that worked quite well. So there is an video version and also an audio version for the people that are interested. Um, we will showcase some of it in a second. Um, exactly, the cutting and the cutting and transcribing process was quite easy because we used different AIs, which was also allowed for this project. We were aware of the dangers of AI, and of course, we put, took into consideration the biases that we learned from our professor. Once again, thanks. Um, exactly, that was the creative process. And yeah, that's what I can say. Um, because I don't want to say too much because it's way more interesting if you actually listen to the podcast. Um, exactly. So I am not sure if I can share the podcast or the file here. Otherwise, we will definitely upload it on OpenOLAT or wherever our professor wants us to upload it. I'm not quite sure, or on YouTube or something. So you will be able to hear and see it. Luckily, I just think that via this Teams program, I'm not able to share my screen because I'm not eligible to, because our professor would have to give me permission to do so.
I think you can just hit Thailand and then so we tested it. I think it should work. I'm not sure about audio, but
May you sorry. May you help me? I am not that efficient in technology still.
so in the upper right, next to verlassen, there is the share the Thailand button.
Oh yeah.
If you press that button, then
Yes.
you will be able to share another screen, and on the upper right side of Inhalt freigeben, you can enable Sound einschließen. So you need to enable that because otherwise you won't be able to share the sound.
I think my laptop won't be able to do that. So unfortunately, I think we have to do it in another way. It doesn't seem to work because I think I am in this democratic country not in the position to share my screen without the permission of our professor. But that's great because we will just upload it wherever our professor needs it to be.
Sure, could you just upload it now to maybe OLED or any other device that you could share, the cloud, probably,
Yes,
so that we will be able
of course.
to hear it.
Of course. I am honored that I have the possibility to do so.
But I don't really, we can also do that after the class because we're now.
It's too good. It's too. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No problem.
No, we really put lots of effort into the podcast episode, and we are very proud of the outcome of the way we approached this. That's why we are very proud to be able to, we really want to share it. I'm just not sure. Maybe I can send an email to our professor. I don't want to go.
You also, if you've got a link, you can also just post it in the chat, and then someone else can share it.
Yes, that's a perfect idea. Thank you so much. There. Okay.
Could I send my email in the chat and then you can just send it to me and I can share it?
Yes.
Put it in the chat.
Wait.
Yeah. The question is just, do you have it somewhere in the cloud or somewhere uploaded? Because if that's the case, then you can just post the link in the chat and someone else can just open it and share it.
Yes. 1 second. I'm sorry for taking so much time, but luckily we have time.
You still have
I just need.
still have 8 minutes, so
Could you repeat your email address again, Professor? I'm sorry.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's rote@ifsh.de.
Thank you so much. Okay. 1 second. And if there are questions already, then you can write them down or something. I'm very lucky if we have the time to answer questions about global governance, especially at Frontex. I just need to find the video, but my laptop is making it very difficult. Oh, I know why. I know why. Unfortunately, the unfortunately the what is it called? The recording is at my partner's, and since he's not with me today because he is sick, he will have to hand it in because the metaverse we live in doesn't allow me to do things anymore.
Okay. In that case, I would suggest you just send it to me after the session, or Johannes, and I upload it, and the others will just access it. And online, because it's just a pity if you don't, present it, and nobody has the chance to listen to it or watch it, right? Because it was such an effort. But in that case, I would just like to invite you to share a little bit about what you did, because now so far you didn't talk a lot about the contents of your podcast, or what was kind of you did that just very briefly in the pitch, but the others don't know anything about. They kind of tell us a little bit about the content, the structure, how you approached it, what you studied, how you did it, and what you take from that.
Okay, of course. I was just distracted because you mentioned that you will share it, and that was just a big honor for the work that we did. But coming back to the question, so the whole podcast had basically 5 parts, and it started with the narrative openings. So and I don't want to give too much away because I want people actually listen to the podcast or the video version. But it started that we all are living on this earth. All of us are born somewhere, and some of us have to flee places because of different reasons, and some people don't. And connecting that with AI was the basic ground for our podcast. Those were the first part and the last part. So you just basically have to imagine, and you can do that yourself right now. You are a person that is not white, a person of color, and you have to flee your whatever right now for whatever reason. Could be climate change, could be AI, could be war, could be nuclear happening, could be Trump just being himself, living right now. That's the situation that we created, that we Europeans created proudly. And the other 3 parts then deep more went more into depth, parted between me and the partner. I actually explain what the eye border control thing is and how it's connected to AI. It's a project that was tested and funded by the European Union, so by all of us, until 2021. Sorry. Um, Also in collaboration with Frontex, but more is then in the podcast. And then Johannes went on with his part. I don't want to give that away because I couldn't put it in his words. I don't have the vocabulary for that. And then the last part was just concluding everything and giving one key takeaway. Um, and I would like to ask the audience if I should give the key takeaway away already, or if you want to listen to the podcast and listen and watch for yourself.
Should I clear the key takeaway? Yeah. Everyone's
What do you think, everybody?
Yes.
What do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
Just some guesses. There's no wrong or right. We created this. What do you think is the one key takeaway of this eye border AI control thingy? It would be an honor, Professor Rothe, if you had an opinion on that. Rothe, sorry.
Okay, my guess would be the focus when it comes to kind of AI surveillance tech is often on the US, and the EU is often presented as kind of the good guy in that regard because of regulation and everything. But if you consider the border regime, we can actually see that it's actually not the case, but early on, the EU also adopted kind of these technologies and tested and kind of and used the border as a kind of space of experimentation, as a kind of laboratory for such technologies. That would be sort of, from my perspective,
really?
and important.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, thank you. The key takeaway is my key takeaway is that everybody that lives on this earth should be always prepared for war. That is the key takeaway. And Professor Rothe, sorry, I would be honored if we could talk about your guess on that again, because I have a different hypothesis from a completely different perspective, and I think it would be really important for the ISFH if we would talk about that, because I definitely see the European perspective, because I'm European too. And that's why I said we put so much effort into this podcast. We also use some sources outside of Europe, and those perspectives could be explosive for the world if we don't work together.
Sure, yeah, that's great. How did you kind of how did you get to that key takeaway, and to what extent was the podcast format helpful in kind of reaching there?
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
How did you get to your key takeaway, and to what extent was the podcast format helpful in that regard, and sort of reaching this kind of, or getting to that takeaway, and also possibly because it just mentioned non-European perspective. To what extent is a podcast format then sort of capable of also bringing that in?
That is an excellent question. An excellent question. Once again, I'm very honored that I am able to answer that question. It's something that people of the global minority would never understand, and that's why that's why it's cool. No, wait, sorry. That's why it would be a great takeaway for all of us globally if people like us living in a multicultural society here in Germany, here in Europe, closely to war zones and stuff. Um, it would be just great to we use this podcast episode to come to that conclusion because it's a great way to showcase, to get attention from people on the things that are actually important without giving away too much. And it's almost like a miracle that we are living in this post-colonial world that we all created together. And luckily, we have the privilege, and me even as a black man, to be here with you people.
Thanks, Cliff. But let's also open this discussion because it's it shouldn't be like a dialogue between the two of us. So, and if you have any questions about the project, the podcast, or the broader topic of border control, this project which was on briefly mentioned now, yeah.
I think my question is a bit a repetition of what you already asked, but I would be interested in why you chose the podcast as a format and what you liked about it and how you came to decide on that.
Thank you for this question. We decided on a podcast episode because the layout of the seminar was put so greatly that we had the freedom to not do the, how do I put it, standards version of how you're supposed to do academia, like we're supposed to do it in Europe. But our professor paved the way for us to also work outside of the box, and that's why we thought, hey, how cool if we would do a different version of academia and mix together both the European approach with my partner and also a black approach with me, and also and that has nothing to do with this seminar, but I also am part of a collective, and we also do podcasts. I think I briefly mentioned that at some point in the seminar, but it doesn't matter. And that's why I thought, okay, cool, I do podcasts anyway. We had the great opportunity to work outside the box and not just stay inside the box that Europeans create in this great neoliberal order. And that's why we chose to do a podcast. It's fun. You should listen.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, what is also, it's a good example of how you can use AI tools in a way like where the AI can assist you without sort of dictating or determining the content and sort of, right? So you can use it as a technical assistant to produce a podcast, but bring in your own content, right? And your own kind of voice, and plus it's rather dialogical, so you can bring in different voices and perspectives. I think that's also good. I look around other questions about also the the project. Can you say a little bit about eye border control, what they did concretely in this project in terms of, these lie detectors and whatnot, and if it actually worked or not?
I could. I'm not sure if the seminar actually already wants to know, because I would have to put a trigger warning, because that could be quite sensitive for some viewers or listeners that are not used to people getting killed. So
Okay.
asking the seminar if everybody is fine with that, and then I would greatly answer the question. I would love to answer the question.
How did you deal with that in the podcast?
It's the reality we live in.
Yeah, no, I mean with the trigger warning and so on, and
we did a trigger warning. So before
Okay.
we did the part where we talked about it, we told that the next few minutes could be a little bit disturbing, because in Europe there are some realities that seem to be ignored, which is just the reality of it. Shouldn't be ignored, and in the podcast it wasn't that big of a deal, because as master students we thought it was important to actually talk about what's happening in this world and spreading the message instead of keeping a blind eye.
yeah, sure. Questions? Comments? Yeah. Because we started.
I can tell y'all. So I can tell you all, if everybody is comfortable with that. But if you want to rather hear it in the podcast, then I'll also. I don't want to give too much away, and also, this is a joint project between me and Johannes, so I don't want to take all of the space.
No, I think it's fine, because let's just hear one final question, and also it's a big topic. Since we only have 2 or 3 minutes, probably move on. And
yeah, maybe one more question. I hope you can hear me. What are some of the sources that you used for the podcast? So, yeah, what goes into the podcast? Is it mostly academic literature? You also said you wanted to do something outside of the maybe Western traditional approach. So, did you do any interviews, or so? Yeah, what went into it? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Give me 1 second. Okay, so like I already mentioned, we had the privilege to use the literature that our professor gave us. So that was our foundation for everything, because otherwise we couldn't have started all of this. And then we kind of worked in a snowball system, which we love to do as Europeans. So we used that literature. We didn't do interviews because yes, sorry.
no.
Okay.
Please continue.
Oh, so sorry. I thought I was.
No.
Exactly. So we did the Google Scholar thingy. We went to libraries, which was kind of the Western approach, I'd say, or the Eurocentric approach, or also just the academic approach, to be honest, and to mix that with the African approach, because it's fun. Like I said, and I'm not a big fan of the internet. That's why I rather read books. That's why sometimes it seems like I'm not doing my reading, but I just read books actually. So this is one book. Sorry, it's quite noisy. Sorry, it's quite noisy. So this is one book from the University of Ghana, located in West Africa. Borders are there. That's like one thing where there are like great stories from people that if requested, I will do a whole lecture about the things that are in this book. You guys will not believe that they printed this and put money into this, and people put their time. I was uh, Professor Rote. It would be an honor to show you this book. Furthermore, in Germany we have our history books, but around the world they have other history books. It's just that we Germans love to be, how to put it, to think that we are better than I don't know the rest of the world besides China and Russia. So we are writing our history, but the rest of the world doesn't really care about our history. So we also used a history book from Africa, West Africa, and I'm also in contact. Long story. I'm also in contact with the person that's writing this book because it's a very interesting. It's a funny perspective on borders, and I will give you a quick example because, of course, all of this was about like eye border control, and talking about eye border control from the